In today's video, we're going to be building a barn beam style mantel. Now, it looks like a distressed solid piece of wood or like a railroad track, all distressed with hand hewing with an axe, but it's actually made with #2 pine that is bevel cut for the miters on all sides, and it's actually hollow inside. So this is a faux beam. It has squash blocks or spacers, whatever you want to call them, inside, and we have these 6 by 7 inch by 8 inch corbels that are going to appear to hold it up in place, but they're actually not structural at all. Okay, so let's get started on this build and then install it in the client's home. Okay guys, so the first thing I need to do is set my blade to 45 degrees because I'm going to cut the ends on against the miter fence on the sliding table. So I'm gonna zero out my gauge and crank this sucker. Okay, I'm going slightly more than 45 so the ends will close much better. Now I need these to be 86.5 inches long. So the first thing I'm going to do is cut off one end with the 45 degrees, and then I'm going to flip the board around with my stop block set up to 86.5 and cut the other end, making sure that I keep the board with the same face down so that my angles are exactly where I need them to be. Next, I'll flip the boards on their face, making sure to maintain that same angle all around, run them through against the rip fence, creating a long bevel. Now you can do this on a table saw or you can do it on a track saw, which I'm going to cover in another video, so stay tuned for that. And here, since I finished cutting the long face, top and bottom of the mantel, I'm cutting smaller pieces here for the sides. Alright, so we had to move it all into the garage. All the pieces are cut, all the miters are cut on all the ends. So the way it's laid out here, it's actually upside down. So this way I can put tape on the miters and tape it all together. You can see this is going to be the face of it here. I cut these miters to 45.5 degrees so that they close a little bit better. This way there's less material in here to get in the way and the ends can close much easier. Now the top and the bottom, they only have the miter on the sides and one side of the face because the flat side is going to go back up against the wall. So the bottom has that also. So the way it's going to be laid out is I'm going to have the top, then the face. I'm going to put it together like that. Then the bottom, and then the sides are cut. One flat face and then 3 sides are mitered, and those are going to be placed up there just like that. And I'm going to be using Type Bond 3, and that's not because of the waterproof consistencies of it, but just because it gives you a little more open time. So it's going to be easier to work with after I put the glue on there while we're trying to clamp it all up. So the first thing I'm going to do is run the packing tape along the seams of the bevels, and that's going to give me the stability to keep it in place. Then I'll run a couple of pieces of tape across the bevels, and as I fold it, that will keep it together. Now, the tape across the bevels also helps with the glue squeeze out. It kind of acts like a barrier. Now, you can do this by yourself. It just makes it easier to have a second set of hands. So I asked my son to help me, so this way when we flip it over, I can clamp it up faster. So come off slow. One piece at a time. Let it fold. So pull it off so it hits the line. Now let it fold. Okay. It's okay if it pops. We're going to just be able to try to get it over. Alright. Pull it. Put it on the table. Okay. Push it in. Right there. There you go. Alright. Push it down towards you. Okay. So now the joints are exposed towards us, so now we can start to fill them with glue, and then after we fill them with the glue, we can start to fold them up against each other and let them just close up. And once they close up there, then we can start to clamp it in place. Smush it together like that, like a rope joint. There you go. Okay. After I glue and fold up the end, I'm using miter spring clamps, and those are going to hold the corners closed, and it will hold up all three sides while I do the other side. Put miter spring clamps, and then I can put larger clamps to hold the whole thing in place and let it cure overnight. Alright, so now while the glue is still wet and the clamps are in place in the corners, we're going to take the round shaft of a Phillips head screwdriver, and I'm just gonna roll these corners in and mash them together. Remember, this is going to be a distressed beam, so we don't really want these corners to be perfect, but we want them to be sealed up nice. So by mashing them together like this, we're going to make the fit really tight, and the glue is going to hold and keep the seams closed. This is going to really mash those fibers of wood together. Put your fingers. Now we're going to do the same thing along the top. So, screwdriver. Okay, so now I cut out the spacer blocks. That's going to give us more support on the inside. So I'm just going to install these with glue and then hold them in place with a clamp while the glue sets. And you don't have to measure here, you can just eyeball. 3 sides if it gets the glue. And then just drop it down into place. And then clean the mess you made. Okay, so I'm going to let this set up overnight, and then tomorrow we'll come back and start to distress it when it's all dry. Remove the clamps, take off all the tape, and start to work on it. So the glue's had time to set up now, 24 hours, so it's all cured out. First, I'm going to use this restoration tool with a drum sander attachment on it. And I'm going to round over all these corners and roughen it up a bit. Next, we want to give it that hand-hewn look, so I'm going to use an axe and give it some chops in there and make sure I'm cutting it on an angle to make it appear that it was cut by hand. Just remove the extra chips and make sure that I do this on all 3 sides of the mantle. And we want this thing to look as real as possible, and if this was a real solid wood beam, it would have a lot of check marks in it, which is the natural splitting of the wood. So I'm just going to set the depth of my circular saw blade very shallow, and then I'm going to take these random non-conforming passes to make it look like the wood actually split. And now for the really super fun part right here. As you can see, we have a torch, and I'm going to use this propane torch to burn the wood, and it's going to give almost the effect of a stain, but this is all going to come off with the wire wheel and leave behind some black dark burn marks in the wood and make it appear to be that it sat outside, weathered, maybe caught a little fire, maybe damage from the sun, and it's all going to be integrated and bring out those highlights after I put the stain on it.
Now, I would have liked to have had the shot zoomed out a little bit further, but my son was working the camera and I didn't double check it, so this is the only shot I got. A little too close, but you can still see what I'm doing.
All right, so I'm switching to a wire wheel with the restorer for this, and this is going to rip off all the soft fibers in the wood and leave behind the hard stuff. You want to go in the opposite direction of the axe strokes. So I'm just going to do a quick walk around here, show you what it looks like up close. These are all the axe marks and everything. I'm not sure the camera can really get it, but there's a texture from the restoration tool. If you listen, what it did was rip off all the soft wood and all the sapwood and leave the strong hardwood parts of it behind. And so now I just have this amazing textured but smooth, what appears to be solid mantelpiece. So the only thing I got to do now is put some dark walnut stain on it, because that's what they want. That's the color that it's going to be. And what that's going to do is really bring out all these burn marks and all these check marks that we made, and the axe marks from the that appear to be that the log itself, or beam, whatever you want to call it, was actually hand hewn with the axe the way it used to be.
Now for the corbels, I've milled up some 4x4s, glued them together, and I'm going to cut them to the size that I need on the bandsaw, then create a curve and cut that curve. Now to attach the corbels, I'm going to use glue. I'm going to use a 1/2-inch spacer, because that's going to bring the corbel away from the wall a bit, so it won't interfere when I mount it. And that 1/2-inch gap is going to be covered up by the mud and stacked stone that they're going to apply to the chimney stack. Now I'm just going to attach it with brad nails and some screws from the insides to keep all the fasteners hidden. Last but not least, I'm off to spraying the finish, and that's going to be 3 coats of General Finishes High Performance, and it's a really durable polyurethane. I'll link this all in the description. Now we're on site here at the client's home, and I'm just leveling the cleat, and I'm going to screw it into the studs. Now the lighting isn't great, but I have a floodlight. That's all I can get. They don't have lights yet in the house. It was just built, so nothing's really done yet. So I just check side to side, make sure that it's even, 6 inches away from each end. That's how I designed it to be. That's what they liked. And then I'm just going to screw it into the cleat from the top, and then I'll affix some screws from the bottom.
Alright guys, so the lighting is a little tough to really kind of get the full effect, because it's just an old school floodlight, but I'll get some more pictures as it gets updated with the stone and everything. We've got more work to do in here, so. Okay guys, so installation of the mantle went extremely well. It's rock solid. Now, the lighting conditions in there weren't ideal, obviously, because they had no lights, so I had to use an old floodlight that just had a regular bulb screwed into it, which made the lighting conditions less than ideal. So basically, with that being said, I wasn't able to get great pictures of the mantle installed, but it was just installed on the studs onto the cement board anyway. So what's going to happen is I'm going back there to do a lot more work, which are going to be producing a lot more videos, obviously. So they're going to install stacked stone, beautiful white stacked stone, around the whole surround of the fireplace chimney. And when that's all done and I'm there doing the other work, then I'll be able to get some good pictures and upload those, and you guys will see them on Instagram and Facebook, and I'll post them here on YouTube also. So just make sure you hit that subscribe button, follow the channel, and hit the picture of a notification bell. That's going to also notify you every time I upload a video. So if you guys really, the most important part of this build wasn't really the installation, because that was the easy part, but the actual building of the mantle itself was what I really want to get out there, and I hope you guys got something out of it. Now, I'm going to be making a whole series of how-to videos on all the things that I'm building for that house that I'm working on right now. There's going to be built-ins. I'm going to be doing barn beams that are going to go up around a lolly column, steel lolly column. They're going to be going across the ceiling, and I'm going to kind of notch those in and make those look like kind of like the barns on the side of the barn. They kind of like almost like dovetailed in, but just notched in, so it looks like it actually serves a purpose and it's holding up the actual beam of the house. So that's going to be cool. But what I'm going to do is, since I already made the mantle, which it resembles that whole beam in general with the distressing and everything, what I'm going to do is make the how-to videos on how I cut the bevels, the way I use the torch to burn it, the way I'm going to hit it with the axe, and all those distressing techniques with the restoration tool, with the wire wheel, how to sand it, how to finish it. Also, when I do the built-ins, there'll be custom cabinetry, how to make the cabinets, how to make the window seat, how to make the doors of the cabinets, how to make shelves, using a shelf pin jig, and all these things that everybody has been requesting for me to do in specific videos are going to all be upcoming on this channel in all of these future videos. And hopefully by the time I get to go back there and do the installation, they get some lights. Otherwise, what I'm going to do is just invest in a really nice LED set of LED lights, the work lights, and I'm going to have those projecting onto the area where I'm working, so this way we do have some more ideal conditions. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. I hope you guys enjoyed the build, and I will see you next time. Thanks for joining me in my shop. Alright guys, take care.